Profits have been decreasing for several years at Wright Airlines. In an effort to improve the company's performance, consideration is being given to dropping several flights that appear to be unprofitable. A typical income statement for one such flight, Flight 581, is given below. Okay, now rather than reading the information in the table, I'd like you to pause this presentation and read the information, and then click on the second slide when you're ready to begin. In addition to the information that's been provided on the last slide, we also have some other facts that you now see. Members of the flight crew are paid fixed annual salaries, where the flight assistants are paid by the flight. 1/3 of the liability insurance is a special charge assessed against Flight 581 because, in the opinion of the insurance company, the destination of the flight is in a high-risk area. The remaining 2/3 would be unaffected by a decision to drop Flight 581. The baggage loading and flight preparation expense is an allocation of ground crew's salaries and depreciation of ground equipment. Dropping Flight 581 would have no effect on the company's total baggage loading and flight preparation expenses. If Flight 581 is dropped, Wright Airlines has no authorization at present to replace it with another flight. Aircraft depreciation is due entirely to obsolescence. Depreciation due to wear and tear is negligible. And finally, dropping Flight 581 would not allow Wright Airlines to reduce the number of aircraft in its fleet or the number of flight crew on its payroll. So with that information, as well as the information provided on the last slide, we're asked to determine what's the net increase or decrease in profits if the flight is discontinued. Okay, here you see my approach to calculating the difference if we drop the flight, and you see on the bottom right that if we drop the flight, the company is worse off to the tune of $9,300. So the first column reflects the net operating loss of the flight as it now stands, including all of the revenues and all of the costs associated with the flight. The second column, labeled Drop the Flight, shows only the revenues and expenses that would continue if the flight is dropped, and you'll see that all the revenues go away, and the flight promotion, fuel for aircraft, salaries of flight assistants, and overnight cost for flight crew also go away. Liability insurance is reduced to 2/3, but you see that the salaries of the flight crew and the depreciation of the aircraft, as well as the baggage loading and flight preparation, remain. So then if we compute the difference between the first two columns, we see that in terms of contribution margin, the lost revenue is $23,400. And then we look at what's the net change in the expenses of keeping the flight versus dropping the flight. And the total flight expenses will be reduced from $25,300 to $11,200. However, the loss in contribution margin is greater than the $14,100 flight expense savings, so the net result is a loss in dropping the flight of $9,300.